Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's a pre-lunch session, but the focus for us is to keep the session fast-paced, lively, and hopefully you all don't sleep because like these people have some very interesting insights. See, as I was doing the research on the panelists, I was very inspired. They gave an official introduction, but let me tell you how I was planning to initially like introduce them. Okay. Mr. Srinivas, he is the futurist. While I think about the problems that I face for parking in T Nagar, I think like he thinks about like what needs to move in version 2.0. That's how he is. And Mr. VC for me, he brings the Zen to retirement tech. And Mr. Prabhu is the fintech API for me. Let's get started by hearing what these panelists have to say before I get started and grill them with all the questions that I have. Mr. VC? Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me here. Delighted to be here. So, actually, last 30 years, I've been involved in building products and services for the financial services, and particularly on the retirement industry in the US. And as you could really see through these years, every 3, 4, 5 years, you get a new technology, concept, disruption, call what you may, which actually gets you to ask questions about your business. You have to ask business questions. And we are right at the inflection point with AI, automation, intelligent platforms. And this is, I think, everybody says this is nothing like it. And yet I do have my questions about like what I've had in the previous things. And in my view, when you go through these things, there is no point in actually, I think what you need is clarity and not excitement. I think that's the first point I'd like to make. The second one is, we've built business for the last 20 years. Me and my partner Bala have been working to be the number one brand in the retirement industry in the US. And we've been going after the large players. Happy to say that we have, as on date, 8 of the 20 must-have accounts in the US for us. And 3 are in the contracting stage, so which means by the end of the year, we'll be at least 50% there. And with this, and the waves of change that we have seen from mainframe to Gen AI, one of the things that to drive growth, we cannot be chasing trends. One thing which is very clear, fundamental, is you have to understand people, build trust, and also make sure that you get disciplined bets in terms of the business. Lastly, actually, one of the things personally about me is that I've been very passionate about learning, and I spend a lot of hours listening to podcasts, Substack, of really some of the best thinkers right across. And I'm a meditator. And every day I meditate without fail. So I think that an intellectual openness as well as a calm, I would say, in combination, has shaped the way that I've been a leader, shaped the way that I face challenges or seek solutions, and lastly, take decisions. I'm here to share some of those experiential things with you through this session. Thank you.
I think like what I said about bringing Zen to retirement tech, I think he validated it with his words. Now on to Mr. Srinivas.
Thank you, Ramya. So, I am Srinivas. I'm an out-and-out automotive engineer. In that, again, in automotive industry, I'm out-and-out engineering professional, automotive engineering. That's in the product development domain. As introduced by Ramya, other colleague, I spent almost 35 years of my career in automotive industry throughout in product development. Majority of it was in automotive electronics domain kind of stuff. So having worked for quite a long career in Mahindra, I decided to move on to start something on my own. Then we founded Blue Binaries Engineering, through which I am representing all of you today. Um, Blue Binaries Engineering and Solutions is an engineering service provider. We do a lot of engineering and design work in the area of automotive electronics, meant for many of the OEMs, that's original equipment manufacturers or the vehicle manufacturers, and the system suppliers, tier ones, would it be Bosch, would it be other large tier ones, values, all that stuff. So what we do typically is provide engineering support, meaning more of like embedded software development, a lot of verification and validation of the system or software validation, developing diagnostic solutions, and so on and so forth. All of you know that the way the electronics is evolving in the automotive and the kind of software coming into automotive is giving a lot of opportunity for companies like ours. We are about 7 years old. We started end of 2017. Early 2018 onwards, we started operations. We are about 600 people spread across 4 locations: Chennai, Pune, Bangalore, Trivandrum in India. We also operate out of UK, Europe, and US. We cater to some of the markets like even South Korea partly. So that's the snapshot of Blue Binaries. And we are planning to scale it up to a very decent size of approximately 1,500 people in the next 3-4 years, and to take it to the other regions of the market wherever is possible. So I'll keep interacting with you depending on the questions that are coming from Ramya, and I will share some of my experiences as and when the questions come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Srinivas. Mr. Prabhu.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to share the stage with these stalwarts. My name is Prabhu Rangarajan. I'm one of the co-founders of M2P FinTech. We are a Chennai-based company. Our office is just a kilometer away from here. So we started in late 2014 when FinTech was not even a coined term. It was banking tech, banking software, and predominantly India was using software that was built for the Western world. And then we were trying to force fit it into the Indian context, but India required something else. Luckily for us, when we started, there was a big change in the government's thinking towards going digital in all of what it takes. So if you look at first principles, beyond air, water, shelter, money is the next most important aspect for anybody across the world, any race, creed, religion. Money still is plays a big part, and any company can become a fintech company is the way we look at it, because trade happens everywhere, right from the age old. In Stone Age, we used to do barter systems, and now we are doing mobile-based money movement. But wherever there is trade happening, there is money getting moved, and that's an opportunity for technology to intervene. So since over the last 10 years, we've seen several core infrastructure components built out of India for Bharat. UPI, as I'm sure each of you have a smartphone and you are paying using UPI, and it's not just to the people in the room. Down the street, even a flower vendor, fruit vendor is able to pay and collect money digitally today. So this is all related to the infrastructure that was put behind it. So we take, as a company, we build financial services infrastructure from banking, lending, payments, data, AI. We take an infrastructure view of how can we set the railroads for innovators like all of you to come and participate and build, whether it is a goods train or a Vande Bharat or a Shinkansen. Can we be that railroad that can carry all? So that's what we are at. We are in 31 markets today. We were bootstrapped for the first 6 years. We raised funding to expand globally. Our intent is to make financial services universally accessible for every human out there. That's about it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Like it looks like you are the Southern Railways, but arriving on time. So moving on to Mr. Srinivas to start the questions, like what is the one mobility or engineering trend that you see is going to like take off over the next 5 years?
Uh, while there's quite a lot of exciting stuff happening in automotive industry, you all are watching. It's a fantastic, phenomenal amount of engineering develop and technology development is happening. While all that is fine, to answer your question very point blank, Ramya, what I would see is software-defined vehicles, SDV, it's called. That's one of the most exciting trend because everything is going to be defined by software. What's going to happen now is we are buying cars nowadays with some of the features loaded, and they are given like inbuilt features. SDVs are going to be dependent on a very advanced E&E architecture, that is electrical and electronics architecture, which is the backbone of the vehicle, backbone of the complete vehicle development. So a lot of features are going to be enabled through software. Say, for example, you are driving on highways and you need a cruise control. That can be enabled or disabled when you are driving in city traffic. You don't need cruise control. It can be disabled. So the function can be available for you as a service at a cost. Same way, things like automated emergency braking, ADAS, some of the features with regards to connectivity. See, obviously connectivity, linking with maps, you already must be knowing quite a lot of stuff is happening. Very soon you will get a lot of prompts like about your favorite restaurants, en route your office, en route your home, or your favorite spots for a coffee, or say, for example, where to stop for fuel filling at a discounted rate. That also the prompt can be coming from the system, from the cloud, to the connectivity, from the connectivity to the car, and it will like prompt you like this is what it is. So all this is going to be very exciting. This is all coming from SDV, software defined vehicle. So this is one of the most exciting stuff that is happening, and many of the OEMs, that is vehicle manufacturers, have already lined up SDV platforms, and a lot of work is happening worldwide. Also in India, it's happening. Everybody is setting up exclusive tech centers to develop software-defined vehicles from their platforms. That's what's happening.
Now I know why you are a futurist, because you seem to be preparing us for a better future so that we don't yell at all the people on the roads while we drive. Moving on to Mr. Chandra, like when I went through some of the videos in YouTube about you, like one principle that did like come through was like be prepared for tomorrow. Okay, and you also said like do not follow the trends. So how does that help, and like how do you be prepared for tomorrow in terms of technology, or identifying which technology you are supposed to follow?
So that's a difficult question and interesting question. As I told you, actually, I'm very, very curious, and from birth, or at least not really from birth, because I don't think I was conscious, but from my conscious age onwards, I've been very curious and was a difficult child for my parents. And I used to abstract. I think my abiding thing over the last 3 decades and more has been on what is this larger model which can define the life. So I keep following biosciences, AI, economics, geopolitics, whole lot. I really listen to the best of breed intelligent minds through their Substack or podcasts. So alongside, I think when you do this, I think as leaders we develop some interdisciplinary capability to start really building our own model for sharpening our intuition, sharpening our instincts. So when a new technology comes, I can give you some examples. 2-3 examples very quickly. We had our first version of a product, and then it was already, because it takes 3-4 years for an enterprise class product to even come to an MVP stage. It's a fairly large product. And then once we have a first set of customers, we are already on to really, refreshing the entire technology completely. So about 5 years ago, we are at that juncture to really look at what is the new stack, what is the new architecture. So that's the time when actually, because of your depth of reading everywhere, you already have some kind of fine-tuned idea, or this is the potential that we need to go after. Secondly, I think you seek your best experts. Because I distinctly remember at that time, I went and spoke to Suresh Samandam, who was in Kissflow. I mean, used to be called Orenscape before, a good friend of mine. So his architecture team also were with me, with my team. We went through the whole thing in great detail. And then it was very important to have some course correction or some fine tuning to our own ideas. And then the third stage will be that we just did a pilot to see whether it will really scale. Because our applications are supposed to at least match and exceed mainframe degree performance for batch processing, which is a tall order, right? So I think in terms of experimenting with those things is very, very, very important in my view. I'll give you an example, a bad example as well. About 5 years ago, around about the time when we were really doing it, there was heavy talk about blockchain. I used to have Jenny Johnson spoke heavily about AI and blockchain as Franklin Templeton's two big pillars in terms of technology. So we started investing into saying, okay, I think by the intuition I felt, I think, ledgering through blockchain is going to be an interesting thing that we need to go after. So we experimented and spawned off a development exercise. We had our first system, but when we went to the market, to our utter shock, we discovered that the market was not ready. Nobody was willing to participate. Nothing is going to happen in the next few years. I think I have to take a cold decision as far as that is concerned and say, we're not going to do anything, shelve the whole project off. And the last thing is about AI. So we know there is so much hype about the whole thing, and we are not really, one is internal use. Obviously, the biggest use case is software development itself, which we therefore keep using it. And other than that, we are very, very focused on finding the use cases which will make a difference. We learn it from our customers, and then we experiment. We had a very large customer who really we learned about their experience of onboarding a new plan to bring the assets into the system. Used to take anywhere between 16 weeks to 6 months, right? 6 to 8 months. So we said, can we really do something here? And then we actually dramatically did an AI agent, which crashed the whole thing to nearly about, if somebody is really smart, they can do it within a week, 1 to 2 weeks. So that's a huge plus. I think it has to be driven by not doing something, because every product today says AI powered, AI powered. They don't even know what is AI power, okay, most of them. So I think you have to get to be grounded and really evaluate where it is going to apply. Even in a small place, you have the leverage of making big results. Spotting the right opportunity is, I think, the key. Thank you.
I'm really glad that you spoke both about the success and the failure. I think as CEOs, it's very important that we learn to experiment and then also differentiate between a buzzword and what actually works. But Prabhu, you seem to have a superpower where you are able to differentiate between a buzzword or things that actually work. So why don't you tell us what is the one tech trend that you see happening in the fintech industry?
Yeah, so leading on from where Mr. VC left, I think he brought in a very important point. Sir, in a nutshell, what you're saying is don't make your company a lab rat, right? Try, experiment, but at the same time, it need not be every single technology out there is applicable everywhere. That's a lesson we learned the hard way, sir, as well. So I share your sentiments there. But on AI, so I think in fintech or in any industry, AI will play a meaningful role. That's my hunch. But it is not in the way it is hyped up in the recent past. AI will, so every single company out there in any intervention will start applying first principles on the CapEx and OpEx models, right? So people are investing in a lot of CapEx in getting GPUs trained, GPUs for model training and areas where they can actually intervene and all that. And there are every single day, at least 2 or 3 people ask me this question whether AI will replace jobs. So it's not going to be, that straightforward. I would say AI can only work in 3 ways. It can work with you, it can work for you, and it can work by itself. There are only so many mundane jobs that you can ask AI to do it itself, right? Where you don't need a human. Things like posting on social media on a daily basis, sending certain messages, sending reminders, all of these things you can have AI do it itself because it's not going to harm anybody. And in the previous session, somebody spoke about guardrails as well. So you can actually add guardrails and have autonomous stuff, clearly laid out there. But for the other 2 use cases where industries like us, where we operate in financial services, if AI is the decision maker over there, and you apply for a loan or a home loan, and it says, out of my deep learning, I don't think you're a good customer, you'll actually sue the bank, right? You're not going to like that decision. So AI should actually play a very meaningful part of helping the loan officer by working with him or her and help make the decision faster. So that's how I think AI will be used, or in my industry, that's how I think it is going to be used. So it's not going to be deep learning alone. It will also be coupled with automated reasoning, which means every step of the way, you need to have explainability. You need to have loop back into why a certain decision was made. Can we actually make rule engines out there in every business? It's not just financial services, insurance, manufacturing, automobiles. Everywhere there are systems that are put in which it goes through a pattern of rules. And how do you get the fuzzy logic faster? Instead of going to the road and simulating with real POC and stuff, can we actually make that iteration faster? Because every product out there in first principles, if you see, it takes about 8 or 10 iterations for it to get to meaningful state to provide it to a customer. Can we make those, iterations faster with the advent of AI and automated simulation, automated learning? That's where our energies are. So I think that's where we will actually spend our maximum energy on.
I'm glad you spoke about iterations. I think it's okay to make mistakes because we learn from the mistakes and then correct it, right? So that
Absolutely.
way,
Because iterations in the sense, what happens is you do 10 things of which only 2 click, and then
Yeah.
you go to the second round in which those 2 will be expanded into 10 more things, again 2 clicks. By the time you get to 100 things that you tried, only probably 3 or 4 would be done. Like in Kaun Banega Crorepati, you can't ask the 16th question directly. You have to go through the journey anyway.
So I know we see you said you don't follow trends, but how do you think the software in terms of both the services or products industry in terms of tech, AI is definitely there. Do you think anything else is going to shape the industry in the next year?
We are actually, I think we are in exciting times because I think from a business point of view, we started off selling software for a certain, capital investment for the customer and thereafter maintain every year. From there, we had the SaaS platform, and, SaaS user-based thing. So right now, I think what is exciting for us is we are completely based on actually usage, really, because our entire model is built on how many participants or how many people are saving for their retirement through our customers. So that actually really enhances the revenue potential. I cannot imagine how much less we would have made had we been on some other model, right? So I think that model is maturing, industry is accepting more and more. For instance, we have a services side of a business, and the services side of the business for a long time is all FTEs, and we'll be compared with, how do you compare the TCS's rates, or you compare with CTS's rates or Accenture rates. You've completely moved from there to outcome and output model. We're using our own technology. We call it business process as a service. And I think that's a very, very important trend for us to understand, because in this age when there is AI and automation coming, and then the need for some of those manual tasks going down, there's going to be a shrinkage of demand in terms of what used to be traditional BPO. The second part of it is the geopolitical situation, like if you have the H-1B and also the Hires Act. Hires Act is nothing is talked about these days. I'm very worried about that. If they start putting tax on outsourcing, I can tell you that there is going to be a run on the capacities which our independent outsourcers have produced or built up to the GCCs. Because I have a feeling, my hunch is they are going to be easy on the GCCs. The tax may not be applicable to them. As an independent outsourcer, definitely I think I'll be subject to it. So therefore, reading it ahead of time, we started moving all our business to be completely outcome based. We know the process. We are experts in what we are doing. There is nobody else, definitely in India and potentially in US as well, who can actually know the nuances of what we are doing as well as we know. And therefore, actually, once they come in and then get used to a model where they are delivering a service, they are getting value, there is no way they are going to move FTEs because they are not going to be built on FTEs. So I think, therefore, reimagining your model to be resilient for the changes that are happening geopolitically as well as in terms of technology disruptions is going to be a very, very important aspect for every business.
I think like it's very valid for like probably many of us who do services, right? Like Mr. Srinivas, like moving on to you, like you talked about SDV in the current trend, like what is the future shift you think will redefine your industry in the next 5 years? Now it's SDV, what comes next?
After SDV, of course, even in SDV, a lot of our AI-related solutions are going to come in at a product level as well as at the manufacturing. At the vehicle manufacturing, AI is going to, come in a very big way is what we all are expecting. A lot of solutions are there with regards to automated processes and the end-of-line configurations, meaning when you are rolling down several types of vehicles, several variants with the different combinations, the end-of-line configurations are going to be managed by with the help of AI kind of stuff. So this is one shift to what we are seeing. But otherwise, as I said some time ago, there's quite a lot of things that are coming, like, for example, ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance, which is nothing but autonomous level 2 in India. In other countries, the western part of the world, you have level 3 and sometimes level 3 plus. But what is, to be watched out is how this ADAS and this shift is going to happen in India, because we have very unique scenarios of traffic, very unique scenarios of driving. You know all that suddenly you find a cattle coming onto the highway, you have a lot of overloaded trucks, and you have tractors and trailers without lamps, and even signaling equipment not being there properly, and three-wheeler jig-jogging, all that stuff. So how do we develop, calibrate, adopt this kind of ADAS solutions is going to be something, that shift we have to see. At the same time, consumer and customers, the so-called drivers sometimes, how are they going to make use of this ADAS kind of technology? What kind of awareness that need to be created for them in a manner that eventually they see the value out of it, at the same time, they don't see the negative side impact of it. That's how the overall awareness and some bit of a very kind of a learning or a training programs needed. So that's another shift that is going to happen, especially Indian scenario. I'm speaking about especially in Indian scenario. But the shift globally is more with AI, that's how.
I'm really glad you spoke about like educating the people who are actually like using these facilities. I know for a fact that like my drivers switch off the ADAS facility and then like drive it because they don't actually understand the benefit of the whole thing. And I really hope there is like a huge shift in terms of how the manufacturing is done. Hopefully we get the cars within a small waiting period. Right now, some of the waiting period is around 6 months. So I hope like there's really a tech trend like that hopes that will like speed in it. Yeah.
You can choose all the features and functions on your phone, and then it can be a mode of like a custom built car for you.
Yeah.
All is going to be enabled through AI tools.
The drivers think ADAS is a high, but I don't. How do you, Prabhu, translate between what is hype in the fintech to what is real?
So yeah, I mean, we should take like you asked him about the 5-year view, right? I think we should actually look at the 5-year or 10-year view, like the model that Mr. VC suggested, right? Every company has to be very, we should stay true to what we stand for. More often than not, what happens is like companies generally catch a hype cycle and generally forget what they originally wanted to do in the first place. So if you want to kind of build infrastructure, with AI coming in, can you make infrastructure that is intelligent, inherently intelligent? That's the ask, right? Like otherwise what happens is with the hype, everybody, say for instance, when I say, like when we spoke about AI at length, even in the previous session we spoke about AI, adding AI, many people think it is like you can prompt and it will give you intelligent answers. No, that's not AI. That's probably like one use case out of a million use cases of AI. So you should actually clearly question what are those problem statements that your product or your company is solving for, and then in that, how can you actually use this new technology out there to, expedite your go-to-market or make it easier for your end users, so on and so forth. So that's what we keep asking. Say, for instance, with our industry, which is banking. Banking is all about trust. You entrust, each of you entrust your money with the bank, thinking that they will safekeep your money. Whatever we do, whichever technology we use, that trust as a factor cannot be diluted. It should actually be strengthened, right? That's the question we ask ourselves. If I actually put a customer service agent out there, if the agent actually randomly, wrongly responds to you with your balance or a statement or something else, which will actually make you take a wrong financial decision, that's it. That's the end of the technology intervention there, right? So it should rather be a reinforcement on top of whatever humans do. Or in a bank, typically there are maker, checker, approver processes out there. Can AI suggest that, hey, these are the insights, these are the extra data elements that I have dug deep into this customer's profile, and if it is helpful, please take it and run with it. Have the human in the loop and actually answer the same customer with much more context and empathy, then the technology is successful. So we have to apply our core principle of building a certain product or a certain type of company and add empathy to it, and then use any new technology to just strengthen the case. I think that's the way to go.
I think you pretty much answered my next question, which was about like how do you build trust-based networks in a fast-moving industry. And I completely agree with you. Like when in CI Global, when we built Rubik Cube, especially for the non-IT people, basically when people working in restaurants or bakeries, for us it was more about how to make the technology work for them. For them, it's like how do I like actually make the decision making faster and they can still trust. So I completely agree with you that we have to build
In
the
fact,
trust.
if time permits, I'll just take 30 more seconds. Most of the people today are actually making model training as their main use case to get some budgets, right? In most companies, I'm sure like all of you CEOs, founders, you'll be harped by your team to get more budgets for getting GPUs or getting model trained and all that. The only question that we should ask is like, how many of our systems are generating data in a meaningful manner? So that we don't need training at all. We don't need to spend money on actually making sense out of disparate data elements. Can we make our systems generate data better? Nobody's asking that question. Mark my words, in 1.5 years, everybody will question the valuations and the budgets that are being asked, and we're going to look at the ROI. Like he mentioned about blockchain. Blockchain is great, but at the expense that you have to run it, you can as well run it with regular technology, right? So you always have to take a capex and opex plus what is the ROI that I'll get with this technology intervening. Is it going to get me better ROI? Then it's yes. Otherwise, it should still be put under like a POC stage, make it to that stage, and then take it live.
I do agree that like technology is not just about like asking for budget. It is like changing the decision making across industries, including us as to how we ask for budgets and how we help our customers. So it's not about okay, I'm going to come and implement AI for you. It's not that. It's about like what use case are we trying to solve for our customers and what value are we delivering. So moving on to, from technology, moving on to the habits, because yeah, there is so much of technology everywhere, but like, how do we as CEOs actually like keep ourselves updated? So let's talk about habits. One leadership discipline or habit that shaped your growth. I'm going to ask the same question to everyone.
Um, Obviously, to keep abreast with what's happening in the industry, to keep myself abreast with the technology trends, etc., what I usually do is obviously learning by reading with all the content that is available in the open sources, number one. Number two, I keep visiting dealers of various automotive manufacturers, meeting customers in order to understand the expectations or the new car features that are coming in, etc. And also, I keep talking to the vehicle manufacturers, system suppliers, in order to understand their technology roadmaps. Sometimes it is very confidential, but at least you know the trend, how that's going to be. So this is another thing. Obviously, other than these two, I also do quite a lot of what do you call presenting in this kind of forums like symposiums. I keep attending tech shows or some kind of auto expo kind of shows in order to get really understand what is happening in the industry, what are the trends and what kind of developments are taking place and etc. So that's how I keep up myself. But at the same time, after coming back to office, we will try to give a clear, what do you call, the overall summary of our findings, overall summary of our findings or the notes of whatever we have observed in order to drive our own technology map, in order to clearly describe what should be our path, how is the industry moving, where should we go, what to attempt, etc. We try to give within the teams, and then we try to put the roadmaps accordingly. That's how we are trying to scale up in line with the industry. So we have to match with the industry because we are a service provider. That's how we are.
You see,
I think I had already spoken about this. I keep listening to the best minds. If you take, for instance, Neelkant Mishra, who's the chief economist in Axis Bank. He's one of my favorites in terms of economy, knowing about what's happening globally. I keep listening to Robert Sapolsky on his thing about free will and several other scientific base for some of those very difficult, annoying spiritual questions. Like that, I mean, I'm Richard Sutton on reinforcement learning, Geoffrey Hinton for his anti-AI stance these days after his Nobel Prize. So several of those. So if you really look at my thing, at any point of time, I keep watching podcasts, driving, wherever I'm going. Suddenly, the YouTube behavior, it'll pop up some new thing, and it'll be curious. I don't want to miss it because I'll forget it. So I'll go and stop it and click it so that it's in my history, so I can go back and listen to it. So I think I spend more time on that rather than attending conferences, I must admit. So I think that's been my one big thing. I meditate, as I told you, because one of the things I really feel is most of the time we are faced with very, very difficult situations. Business decisions. I think earlier somebody asked me, so how do you really keep yourself and look at the situation? I'm a Vipassana meditator. So I watch breath. Instantly, actually, I'll start looking at it like an advisor, not somebody in the problem. Right? And say, if I were to really tell, given the situation, given all the, whatever I have as 360 view, what will be my next step as well? So that distancing yourself from a particular situation and looking at it very objectively has been actually one of the big things for me. And finally, fitness. And I think I'm very much bothered. My family is overweight, many of them, and I have to spend a lot of time medically taking care of them. I decided that I will not give that problem to my kids. I have to stay fit. What has helped me is actually your brain agility is also connected to your physical agility. Therefore, I do as much as possible, my workouts, play my pickleball and whatever that is. Thanks.
Yeah, Mr.
I feel like he read my mind. So fitness, of course, and talking to people, like networking is so understated in our country. If you go to San Francisco, if you go to New York, you see people so well connected. While they do what they want to do and they decide the best for their company, networking is a very understated thing. I'm just adding on top of what the other gentleman mentioned, because I do all of that, meditate a lot, like definitely apply a lot of focus on fitness, but also there is this in a company building perspective, what one habit that I feel has helped a lot is in trying to make yourself dispensable. I want to actually, I mean, like M2P should be beyond the three co-founders. We already have at least a 20 co-founder team now. They can operate without us. So we have clear written statements on the company beyond the founders, which means you'll have to trust people, uh, delegate as much as possible, and move out of the way. Generally, what happens is even if we have a deputy, we tend to kind of interject in their mode of operations. So trying to move out, interest them in moving out of their way is a habit that has actually helped me, so that I don't have to focus on that. I can focus on innovation or new markets, so on and so forth. I don't have to do the regular stuff. So that's one habit that has really helped me, at least in the last 3-4 years. It has given me visible results.
I think like I have very similar habits in terms of yoga or meditation. My team is sitting over here. Last year I organized a yoga, meditation and fitness camp and they were not happy. But now they will know why I organized it. So moving on to rapid fire questions, because like it's getting closer to lunch and you want to like wrap it up quickly. 1 or 2 words only, and it's a rapid fire, not a quarterly review, so just 1 to 2 words. Vision or execution?
Execution, any day.
For us, it's always execution, as again, we are in service industry. If we give a timely quality service, that will win us some repeated orders.
Vision-led execution.
Both.
I said vision-led execution.
Okay. AI adoption, fast or cautious?
Cautiously optimistic.
Cautious.
Absolutely cautious, because we really have to test and try. We should not attempt on the other side of it by just going in a very faster manner.
For me, it's experiment and then take a cautious approach. Early adopter or late validator?
Early adopter, at least for the internal side. Yeah.
Early validator.
That was not an option, but yeah, we will accept it.
Yeah, to stay relevant, early adopter, again, it's very relevant for us in the service industry.
Deep or wide network in terms of networking?
For us, it is deep networking because we build relationships and that relationship should be transformed to partnerships.
Deep and narrow.
For me, it's a balance. You need depth as well as width. It's always a balance. And always we are figuring out the balance. We don't know whether we are deep enough or wide enough. So it's a mix of both.
I think for us, it's a deep network because we are in a very niche space of accounting ERP. 2025 in one word.
Very exciting, especially to look at the work that is happening around AI and software development.
Historic, geopolitical, economics, technology, every which way, historic.
Long India. The next decade is ours.
Okay. That was very interesting. Now I want to open it up for questions to the audience. 1 or 2 questions.
We have time for just one question. There's a question at the back. Requesting you to please keep it to one question and keep your question short. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. My question is for Mr. Srinivas. Mostly, everyone is talking about software, AI, like that. But in my point of view, India is turning into an electronics industry as of South. There are more people coming into electronics like that. But the thing is, most of the time electronics is used on telecom or the vehicles like V2X, software-defined vehicles like that. But the thing is, most of the time, the talk or maybe a myth that it said that telecom or automobile industry is for a big boys play, not for a startup. It's not a startup play like that. Is it true, or are the trends are turning around like that's it?
No, I have understood the question partly. If I understood correctly, please correct me wherever I am going wrong. In automotive industry is also, now I don't know how much you are conversant with the kind of startups that have evolved for the past 5 to 10 years in the space of electric vehicle technology, EVs. Could it be two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, even right up to commercial vehicles? Quite a lot of work is happening, including buses. So the startups in automotive industry is the most happening thing today. Okay, number one. Again, I'm saying in case I'm answering rightly.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
All right. Number two, the evolution of electronics is exorbitantly high in automotive, at least with my knowledge. See, if you look at the overall cost of the automotive, the BOM means bill of material. The cost of bill of material, it used to be sheet metal, plastic, rubber, glass in the past. Okay, this is all out of all this only the automotive is made, maybe aluminum a little bit. So today, the way it was only 4%, 3% was the cost of total electronics going into a passenger car. Can you believe today it is as high as about 30, 40%? The number of electronic control units, the sensors, the radars, the lidars, all coming onto the vehicle, or they have gone multiple folds high. I mean, they have increased multiple folds. The number of electronic control units are as high as about 40 to 45, even the Mahindras and Tata's vehicles. And if you count really the sensors and the bundle of wiring that is coming and connecting the networks that are used to connect all these, interfacing all these units is exorbitantly high. Therefore, the electronics deployment in automotive is much more. I don't know how much we can have a one-on-one, I can explain to you.
Yes.
It's much more even compared to telecom. That's how I feel. Of course, we cannot compare with smartphone. But today, the kind of interface that is happening between smartphone and car through the cockpit electronics is also predominantly high, very, very high. So it is definitely taking a much bigger shape in terms of electronics involvement in automotive.
Let me just add, see IIT research.
Sorry,
park.
panelists, I'm really sorry, but we are completely out of time. Requesting you to please take this offline.
Oh, definitely, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, to summarize the whole thing in terms of the session, I think like technology, even though it's intelligent, it needs to be human, with empathy, and like it needs to be human friendly. There needs to be a value add in terms of what we deliver. And I'm so glad that this session happened because like I think this session had much more clarity than a full day session as well. So thank you, panelists, and hope you all had an interesting session. So wish you all a intelligent progress and less escalation calls. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our panelists. I now request Mr. Bhaskar from NASSCOM to please hand over a small token of appreciation. Requesting the audience to please keep the applause going. Please do keep the applause going for our second panelist. Please give the applause going for our third panelist. And finally for our fourth panelist. Thank you to our panelists and thank you to our moderator.